Hello, it is Thursday, October 12th, 2017 at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, and this is Marketing Live. I am your host, Amy Jorgensen. On today's live broadcast, we're talking about managing content contributors. Regardless of what tool you're using, the key to your content management system, CMS, is the content contributor. People are saying content is king, but we know it's the person creating the content wearing the crown. You can help your content contributors by applying good governance practices, having a system that runs smoothly as possible, and when it does, you get the best content produced efficiently. On this episode of Marketing Live, you'll hear about best practices and lessons learned, rethink your content strategy workflows to support contributors, and get great content results. Marketing Live is part of a Higher Ed Live network. Our episodes offer you direct access to the best and brightest minds in education. Be a part of our live broadcast by sharing your knowledge. Participate in today's discussion by tweeting us using hashtag HigherEdLive. All of our episodes are free and easy to access in the video archives at higheredlive.com, or take Higher Ed Live with you on the go by subscribing to the podcast. Higher Ed Live is produced by Stoner, a digital-first agency committed to tailored solutions that drive real results. Are you looking to improve your institution's digital marketing strategy and execution? To be successful, today's higher ed marketer must make data-driven decisions and connect digital performances back to strategic and financial goals. Educate your entire team in the latest digital marketing strategies and trends on December 6th using Stoner's Digital Marketing for Higher Education online conference. We'll be tweeting out a link to learn more about the conference shortly. A big thank you to our sponsor, Omni Update. As the #1 resource students and parents use to research colleges, your website deserves #1 content management system for higher education. Omni Update's OU Campus Web CMS is built specifically for higher ed. It has the most higher ed users, is extremely easy to use, and is backed by award-winning support. Check it out at omniupdate.com. I'd like to welcome our two guests today. We have Vanessa, Associate Director of Integrated Content Strategy at Babson College. Welcome, Vanessa. And Kate, Brand Journalist at Babson College. Welcome, Kate. We're excited you're here.
Hi.
So let's dive right in. And again, anyone who is watching, feel free to ask questions using hashtag HigherEdLive. And I'll do my best to ask them as they come in to our two guests. But I'll start with some questions of my own. So let's start off overall with your content strategy and what different types of content managers do you have?
Sure. So I can start with that. So we have a number of content management systems on our campus. We sort of divide them up based on what the different goals are of that platform. So of course, from a overarching institutional perspective, we have our main website. And our website is the informational house for all of our business units on campus, so everyone from admission to advancement. And so it really houses all of our information and transactional activities. So a user needs to get to our website in order to complete some sort of action. So it's obviously a critical CMS for us. It's 3,000 pages. It's quite huge. It's kind of the core of everything we do. So it's an incredibly important platform. And then we have a couple of other kind of content-centric platforms that are more housed within the centralized marketing organization, which is the organization that Kate and I sit in. But they include our blogs, which Kate will talk a little bit about. We have a content marketing platform called Entrepreneurship of All Kinds, which is entrepreneurship.babson.edu. And then we have our third kind of content platform is our magazine, so our Babson magazine site. And those are housed in marketing. So I'll say that from a content contributor standpoint, it's a little easier for us to kind of control our access. But the biggest challenge that I know that organizations like Omni Update work really hard on our it's the main site, because really at the end of the day, that's where our users are completing goals that we have for them. So our main site has actually quite a number of content contributors. We have around 250 across campus, which I hear is much higher than the industry average. However, with such a robust site that is actually housing content for so many different departments and business units, it makes sense when you break it down that way for a 3,000 page site to have that many content contributors. So
wonderful. And Kate?
Yeah. So as Vanessa mentioned, I primarily manage blogs, which is a little bit of a different goal than the main website, obviously. The goal of our blogs platform is to give kind of a curated snapshot of life at Babson from the lens of people who are actually here on campus. So we have a huge volume of contributors across campus that are posting regularly on the platform to share things that are specific to their program, be it admissions, one of our many centers on campus who run a multitude of events throughout the year, or just talk like really candidly about what life is like at Babson. So from my end, I'm managing everyone who's contributing to that blogs platform, which is a huge driver of traffic to our website also. But I'm not contributing at all. It's fun. The marketing department doesn't actually contribute aside from posts from our PR team. So that's an interesting look at it too, is that we are managing and providing this platform to our partners across campus and providing the assistance needed to keep it up and running and encourage people to contribute to it. And I think, the website is a great place for information, but I think the blogs at Babson have become a really great place to come and get like a day-to-day look at what life is like for a current student, particularly from a prospective student lens.
Excellent. So are the people contributing to your blog, are they students? Are they faculty? Are they all?
Yeah, all of the above and more, which I think is one of the really great things about it. You're not just getting one different viewpoint. So we regularly have folks across campus who are leading communication efforts within departments, start accounts and write about them. But we also have faculty contribute. We have students contribute, admissions fellows in undergrad and grad that regularly write about student life on campus. Our career office does a great summer program where students blog about their internships over the course of the summer. So we get little sneak peeks into what life is like at the variety of organizations that they're working at. We have students blog about going abroad. We have faculty members talking about some of their research and practice or the really cool innovative courses that they're holding each year. So it's really, everyone and anyone who works with us to get on the blog, we would love to have their opinions and their posts shared.
Excellent. And Vanessa, do you have faculty and students together, or?
From the website perspective, it's actually mainly staff. And of course, we hope to have through like a distributed strategy of maintaining the website is a designee and as many departments as possible who we train regularly, who are on our list, if you will, whenever we're making updates to the site. So it's really, really important for us that we have a full-time staff person as a designee. They, of course, can also, hire students to help, but sometimes that's a challenge. I mean, it really is a challenge to have a designated student or a couple of students. They have other priorities, of course, while they're on campus. They go abroad next semester, and things change, and suddenly the department's without someone to manage their website. So it's really important to us that we do have at least a staff person who's well trained and versed in the system. From a faculty perspective, we actually house all of our faculty profiles in a separate system called Digital Measures that feeds into our website. So that's been really, really helpful because we found that, it's really important for their, coursework and experience and bios and photos to be in a separate system rather than having to have all these faculty editing the main website. And then, they have other priorities as well. So it's been really helpful to have that content housed separately that we can feed into the site. So again, it's mainly staff members, and that's at least a kind of pretty set rule that we try to abide by.
No, I think that's really smart. So going into the different, I like that you guys brought out that you have, variety of users. So how do you set up different kinds of permissions in the system for what they'll have access to?
So it's really, really important. And I think especially if you're considering like a CMS migration to a new site, to really set up those permission levels at the forefront and really get a solid understanding of the different levels of access and different types of content types that a user might need access to from the beginning. I will say that that's something that we didn't do too well from the beginning, is really understanding, all right, why will a user need access to X, and why does it have to be set up to a certain permission level? So doing that at the forefront is really important, because what we try to do is give users access to only their section of the site, so they do feel like they have a little bit of ownership over that section's content. But sometimes it's around, certain types of content types or web parts, things like that, we don't really realize a user needs to do more than just updating text. So kind of setting that up at the beginning is pretty important to do. So
excellent. And Caitlin, do you have a variety?
Yeah, we do, and it's a little more cut and dry, I think, than the main CMS because it's WordPress based. So it's really easy to set up the permissions, and there's very distinct. So we have administrators, which are folks on the marketing team who are going into the back end and creating accounts, and then we have editors who are able to go in to not just their posts, but other people's posts and make changes. So we don't give that permission out a lot. Normally, it's maybe the person who's in charge of students who are blogging in CCD if they want to make changes. But really the bulk of our users are authors, which means they can go in, they can create posts, they can make the appropriate edits to their posts, schedule them, post them, but they're not able to go in and access anyone else's, which I think is really important to really figure out who should be able to edit other people's posts, be it on the main CMS of the blog. So those are set up in advance and explained to everyone when we train them so that they're aware of what their permissions are and what kind of work that they can do within the system.
Wonderful. So starting at the very beginning, when you have these people coming to you, do you provide any kind of training or printed materials for them to give them a foundation? Because I know for me, it's been a challenge sometimes. Like even people that worked on the web team with me at different universities, they didn't know what a heading tag was. And I'm like, oh no, like accessibility 101. So what kind of training do you do to make sure that people are, keeping the website with the right tone and language and also accessible and all those kind of good things?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we do offer and require training for all of our new users across the board. And, a lot of times their peers in their department might also be able to edit the website. And even so, we try to make sure that someone in the marketing team actually gets time to sit down with them and walk them through the things that are really priorities for us. So everything from accessibility, as you mentioned, to, this is exactly how to upload an image, simple things like that. But we really want to make sure we get the face time with them. And it's really important for us too, because we can kind of in those conversations understand, what the priorities for their website is, what they're usually going to be doing. So then we also can dive in and help whenever we need to. And so that's been a good relationship building opportunity to make sure that our developers and our content people are actually sitting with the user and walking through. From a documentation standpoint, we used to have paper documentation PDFs, but we found that was just really hard to manage and update and send around. And where's one place we could house it all? So we actually maintain a subsite within our main website that kind of outlines all the different things that an average user might do. And it's funny because it's actually generated a lot of traffic to our site anyway, just because it's really helpful information, and from it's public, so it's why not? But we have some kind of key steps within there. But what's helpful with that is our website standards are actually housed in our marketing site, which houses our brand standards and editorial guidelines and things like where to find the logo, the right logo to use. So it's nice because it reminds a user that their website's part of their entire marketing strategy. And so it's more than just how do I upload an image, but oh wait, let me remind myself what blue is approved or what green is approved, or what color the H1, the header one is actually supposed to be, because it looks off here. So we make sure it's all within one centralized place that a user can access at any given point in time.
Wonderful, thank you. What about you, Caitlin?
So I train the bulk of people who are new to the blog, and I love doing it because, like Vanessa mentioned, I think FaceTime is super important. Inevitably, there's going to be questions down the road, even if you do the most thorough training. So being able to build that rapport up front so that they can contact you with questions down the line has been really helpful, I think, for us on the marketing team. So I will schedule a quick training with everyone to do like a how-to on posting to the blog. I usually ask faculty that they come with a blog ready to post, because I think it's way easier to do it and actually do it than to talk theoretically about how you would do it. So it's kind of like a how-to process. I also do provide them with documentation after the fact. and it's digital via email, but I'll give them a hard copy too. What they do with that, I'm not sure, but it's always provided to them. Along with, yeah, right. I don't know if they're referencing it or not, but I think it's important that it lives digitally too. So what that does is essentially it gives a summary of everything that we talk about in the training and some reminders of best practices. So what I do, and I know that what Vanessa and the team does for the CMS, is talk a lot about in those trainings, not just how to, but what the best practices are, particularly for the blog, because I think there's a lot of ideas running around, but I think it's important to align people as to what the goal of the blog is. It's not just a program promotion tool. It is, like I said, that snapshot of life for prospective students. So getting an upfront idea of what their ideas are and brainstorming with them while aligning them with our best practices has been really beneficial long term. And we've seen, I think, an increase in quality and really good content on the blog. The other thing that I do, and I am totally fine with, I think our web team does this too, is I say when you're publishing your first blog and you can't figure something out, call me and I'll walk you through it. And I think that's a huge help for folks because sometimes they just are second guessing themselves. And repetition, I think, is really how you learn to navigate a CMS. So being able to like be available even for a quick 30-second phone call to say, did I upload this photo right? Has been really helpful, and I think really helps our contributors feel more confident when they're posting to the blog.
I think that's a really good point. One of the things that I've debated on doing for our office is having people, especially like students and professional staff, every year for you to have access to the website, you have to take a test. And you can't tell me that like, this is how I check spelling on the page. Please do not copy and paste from Word, use a widget or, what have you. Here's what a heading tag is, or should I always add alt text? Yes, you should, so like little things like that, just so that way it's a friendly reminder. Because I find that when people aren't in it all the time, they forget some of those things. Because like you said, I think Vanessa said it, they're doing other things. They have other priorities. They're not just content creators for the website. So I've yet to get to that quiz yet, but I'm still thinking about doing it. Just like, if you don't get an A.
Well, I'm a terrible test taker, so I don't know how that would work out for me. I would be able to do it live and maybe like answering a question. I'd have some problems, but it's a good idea. I like it.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, like one of the challenges I've had in my office is that a lot of people don't check the spelling on their website, or they're using different tone words. And years ago, UVA used to be U period, capital V, lowercase a period. And now it's all capitals. And I tell them that, they don't listen. So how do you review the content for quality, making sure that the spelling is done well and the alt text and all that kind of good stuff?
So one of my favorite products, and I'll give them a shameless shout out, is Site Improve. Once we signed on with Site Improve, it really changed a lot of that for us and from a quality assurance standpoint. And they also offer great accessibility to tools. But specifically for quality assurance, because our CMS doesn't provide those kind of tools, it's been really helpful. Our positioning is entrepreneurship. From Babson perspective. That is one of the hardest words to spell in the world. And it's on our site thousands of times. So to make sure that no one finds the word entrepreneurship spelled wrong on a page on our site is one of the most important things we can do. And a tool like Site Improve can help us do that. So what we've been able to do for certain content contributors on campus is set up a report that's generated automatically from Site Improve every month or so. There's different levels. And it's restricted to their particular subsite. So for example, our Center for Women's Leadership, they'll get a report monthly that has, any kind of spelling errors, any broken links. Broken links is an interesting one too, because it could be as simple as maybe you used a link 6 months ago to a news site, and then that link is dead now because the news site made some updates and they moved things around, but you wouldn't realize to check that. So they check, broken links, spelling, which is super, super helpful. So that way, we're also adding to this shared distribution model of, okay, this website's not just marketing's website, it's the campus's website. Any page is a landing page. We need to make sure that any user who might end up on the page, and it could be a prospective student who's choosing to come here, can have a consistent and good and professional experience. So that's really important to us. And, a kind of related, and I should mention this with the standard on campus, where all our content contributors can add text, images, can make updates, they can get their quality assurance reports. But if they want to do major overhauls to their site, so let's say add even 1 or 2 new pages, we do ask for them to work with marketing. Because we have access to analytics and we have access to some best practices, and that way we can kind of sit down and have a conversation around, does it make sense to add a whole new subsite, or can we just enhance the content on the homepage? So we try to make sure that's done upfront as well, as part of those conversations, rather than letting, anyone on campus just add any subsite. And, a lot of times it makes complete sense to do so, but it's nice to have that extra supporting conversation too. And then we can talk about in that conversation around, do you get a site improvement report? Let's set it up for you. And we didn't realize how much you're actually paying attention to your website. That's great. Let's try to make it an even easier experience for you. So.
Excellent. Thanks. Caitlin?
So for blogs, it's different, and it's a tough beast to tackle, I would say, particularly because of the volume of people who are contributing at any given time. And there's obviously big variances in the quality in terms of like small things like spelling, but bigger things like understanding of web best practices, like opening links in new tabs or appropriately tagging and adding keywords and metadata. I try and be as upfront as possible about some of these things, but one of the things that I tell every single person, no matter what their understanding of some of web best practices is before you post something, please have a second set of eyes on it. So internally in marketing, we have a quality assurance process where we have a stellar copy editor look at our content and make sure it's good, and then we have someone on the integrated team check the links and all of that. But other departments on this campus don't have that luxury, and they're doing a million different things. So it's easy to make a mistake, but it's easy to have someone catch that mistake if you're just asking someone to quickly read through the blog before you post, or even after you post, because you can go in and make changes. Something that we do also is we regularly meet and convene social media council, and the blogs are a part of that. So if there are big updates, or if I'm seeing a trend in terms of something that should be done differently, that's a great place to make that kind of announcement generally, so that everyone is aware of whatever the new best practice or the gentle reminder is, without pinpointing a specific person. But for me personally, if we're going to amplify a post and there's little like spelled words or links that should open a new tab, I'll go in and update it and maybe send a note to someone just to let them know what the changes I've made are. I also think that's really important. If you're going to make a change to someone's content or page, letting them know either before or after, A, so that they're aware that you're noodling with what they've worked on, but B, so that they can be better prepared to do things a different way in the future.
I think that's a really good point. That's smart. So what do you find that your contributors struggle with most, your content contributors?
Well, along with the theme of remembering that a lot of our content contributors, this is the last bullet, if a bullet, on their job description to make their site. A lot of them don't go into the site regularly. So just like anything else, I mean, maybe their job is, okay, let me make sure that I update the deadlines on this page twice a year. That means they're going to the site twice a year.
Yep.
It's very easy to forget how to do it. So I think that's completely fair. And sometimes I think that we need to, as web, content contributors and, marketing folks and web folks, just be patient with that and remember that it is the extra, thing in the back of their minds that they need to do. So it's really important to have that solid documentation site to continue also to push them there. So, if a content contributor comes to us and says, I totally forgot how to hyperlink this word. We actually, rather than doing it for them, we actually push them to the documentation site to habitualize that process, so that the next time they're like, oh yeah, I walked through that step-by-step on our documentation site. So they're continually going back to it as a resource. So that's really important. It's all about, practicing, trying again. That repetition is really, really important. But
I like that you brought that up, because I have, in both of those different examples, because I actually, I have someone in my office who runs HR, and we have to once a year to put together our performance, review stuff and what our goals are and everything like that, which is great. And she's phenomenal. I absolutely adore her. but I always forget how to use the system of being able to put in my goals and like, how am I supposed to send this? Because like, it's a really confusing system. And so she and I have kind of made an agreement of like, I'll do her website updates if she'll help me, if she'll do
that. There you go.
We're trying to trade it off.
Oh gosh.
It's like everyone else, I point them to the documentation, but that's the one person where I'm like, you know what, girl, I got your back. I totally will take care of it for you if you figure out how in the world to do this.
You help me, I'll help you. Yeah.
It's fair, I mean, it's just like anything else. Like, I mean, all of us, unfortunately go into Facebook every day, so we know how to use it. But if we went in twice a year, we would not. We would forget. And, it's not, it's not something you're used to. And I think also, the role of being a content contributor falls on a lot of different types of people on campus too. Like we'll have, a nurse in health services also be designated because she mentioned she doesn't mind doing it, updating the site. And like, we got to cut them a break here. They're doing much, much different work. So being able to be patient and then also providing them with tools and teaching them, over and over again. I think if I learned anything in my role, it's that I educate way more than I ever expected. And I have like the most respect for teachers and educators that you can imagine in general. Yet I did not realize how much I would have to educate. And it's really important to be comfortable with playing that role, especially if you're in a digital capacity, in a web capacity.
That's smart. So what about you, Caitlin? What do you find that your content contributors struggle with?
Is again very different, but I think idea generation for a blog is a long-term struggle. I think often people come to marketing and say they want a blog and they have a lot of great ideas, and then maybe that translates into 5 or 6 posts over the course of like a couple months, and then they go silent.
Yeah.
And then it's unfortunate because I'm sure there's a lot of really great things happening that they could talk about, or they have a lot of really great thoughts and ideas to share relating to the work that they're doing. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of nudging, but we offer ourselves as a strategic resource too. So I am available to help them brainstorm. Anyone is really available to help them brainstorm. And sometimes if they're coming to us for PR help or to talk about another, like a campaign, we can throw the blog in as a way to supplement whatever work they're doing. But the other thing that we regularly do, at least once a year in that council that I referred to earlier, is share the last year's analytics on the blog so that we can share out what has performed well over the last year or over the last 3 years. And that sometimes sparks some ideas in those who maybe have gone a little silent but are looking to get their blog ramped up again. I think that's super important overall because this is a side note, but some of the things that we found in sharing blog analytics is that posts from 3 to 4 years ago are really, really highly trafficked because of organic search volume. So one of the notes that we put out for our content contributors on the blog is, hey, if you're putting deadlines in, you've got to update them or link to your website, or because people are landing on these, admissions deadlines related posts from 2014, and they're probably getting out of date information. So that's, something else that we remind people of. But idea generation, 100%, one of the biggest struggles on campus, but I think effectively partnering with everyone has helped to, get people back up when they've fallen a little bit off.
An idea for content generation, and you can totally ignore this if you want, but I look at Google Trends. So it's a really good thought to say, like, all right, what is trending? You also can do it based on age and area and all that kind of good stuff to see at least like what topics are they talking about to see if there's ways they can bring it into your area. And then also search results. Mm-hmm. So I was at the University of Michigan Health System, and we were looking at content generation and looking at what are people searching for, the most over the month that they're not finding any results, and using that to like, okay, these are pages we need to add or content that we need to make more clear on pages. And one of them was, I want to say it was Eagle syndrome or something like that. It was a very obscure medical condition. And it was like, we don't have that on our website, but it is something that we service. And I would have never thought to add something like that, but it's something that we had a couple of hits. And I'm like, that's so wild. Like, it's a great spot to be like, all right, here's stuff that, might be able to help.
Yeah, and actually, I have a side note related story, similar, where our Glavin Office for International Education found a need to put information on the Khedive, which is for Venezuelan international students, on our site. It became one of our most popular non-branded organic search traffic, web pages. So basically, like when we looked at all of our search data, anything that doesn't have Babson in it, Khedivi was one of the most popular terms that drove traffic to our website from Google search.
Huh.
What a cool thing to share with our content contributors of like, hey, like how crazy is this that you are getting so much traffic to our site? That's actually not what they wanted though, because it was a misperception on the kind of support that their office could give, as well as, they're like, well, we're not the expert in this. We just wanted to have the content on our site. So they actually elected to take it down, which, makes sense though. And I think through that conversation, they understood too that, they're contributing to like larger institutional goals, which we look at often in terms of like traffic to our website. Every content contributor has a hand in, organic search. But it was interesting for them to talk through, all right, what are our business goals? Does this actually make sense for us? People are actually thinking that we're experts. We're not. So they actually chose to take it down from there. So it's interesting what the organic search results can tell you. So
that's brilliant. And I really like what Caitlin said too, in regards to making sure that you're looking at your old blog posts and making sure that they either reference a new blog post or have very specific dates on there, because I cannot tell you how many old blog posts we had where the information was, again, just like you said, it's stuff that people went to often. And then also the links that were in the blog post were not working at all. And, and it's like, okay, why should I care about a blog post that was posted, 3 years ago? Well, you should care if there's a lot of people going to it,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's it. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. What I was going to say is that it's kind of on the same level as what Vanessa was saying. On the blog, we find, we have a great arts program here, and they write about some really cool people who come to campus, so really fun events that happen. And some of those are pretty highly searched too. And it's not like, it doesn't always have to do with entrepreneurship, but it's a really important slice of what student life is like here. So even as they're coming up years later, I think you can look back and see the value in that, like, hey, this really cool person talked about color therapy, which is, I believe, one of the most highly trafficked blogs year over year, and see that's yeah, right, and see that was something that happened, and be intrigued enough to maybe navigate to the website to find out what else is happening now. And I do think that we have to assume that users, readers have a general awareness that they can look at a date and see that a blog from 2014 might be out of date. But I think as much as we can spell out for them that this is where you go to get the most up-to-date information and drive them to the website is super important. One thing I tell everyone is please always drive to the website in some way, be it your program page or a list of updated deadlines, whatever it is, just please send people to the website, because I think we found that a significant amount of traffic from people who visit blogs do end up visiting the website.
So do you have a taxonomy that links your website content to your blog content and vice versa? So that way it's easier for the content editors to link stuff?
Yeah, so we don't, our CMS, it doesn't really support that kind of integration just yet. So we just use RSS feeds in order to pull in the content, which, it's good for now. I think as we look at our next CMS, we're really hoping for a better seamless integration because, obviously that's the ideal state. As someone is on the art section of this website and they're constantly seeing this flow of updated information. So it feels like real time, real stories about what that means when it comes to life at Babson. But at the very least, what we're able to do is pull in different tags or categories to certain sections of the site. So that art section will still have a feed based on, their category or their tag within the site.
Well, you both have inspired me so much. I have all these notes, and I don't normally take notes during Higher Ed Live, but I swear to God, I'm like, okay, I need to go back because I use Site Improve at the University of Michigan, and it is the best product. It makes it so much easier for content management. And I'm like, all right, Google Analytics, I can do monthly reports to my team, and especially the blog section, to let them know like what is popular, what are people looking at. And I love the idea of the second eye on the blog posts. Because I mean, that's why am I not doing that? Really, that's such a good idea, because we do that on our emails. Every single email that we send out has to be reviewed by at least 2 people. Why are we not doing that on our website content?
And you can set up workflows to actually support that more in a structured way. So you could say, all right, before this post goes live, the editor has to approve it. So you can go that in depth if you would really like to. But I actually find, and Kate probably agrees, that people are just as simple as like picking up their laptop, going over to the colleague and say like, can you read this?
Can you read this? Yeah.
That's all you gotta do. You don't need some fancy workflows, even though those do exist if you want.
Do you have your exit buddy? Yes. Also, you said 2014, and I swear to God, that was like 5 minutes ago. So
yeah,
I was like, yeah, I guess that is 3 years ago.
It doesn't actually feel that long, but in the world of admissions, it's a long time. So.
Oh, this is awesome. Well, I'd like to thank you both so much for your help. I've learned and thought of some really great ideas and learned a lot from you both. And, thank you for joining us, Vanessa and Kate. You guys are awesome.
Thanks for having us, Amy.
Yay. Thank you.
And thank you always to our program sponsors, M Stoner and Omni Update. And I hope that everyone has a great day.